Today, an unpatched Kubernetes deployment flaw with takeover potential, a freshly added SharePoint bug in the Known Exploited catalog, a banking Trojan targeting Iberian users with clever lures, and a quick pulse check on new patches across vendors. Welcome back to the briefing. This is your calm, operational rundown of what changed in the threat landscape and what to do next. First, unpatched Argo CD Repo-Server flaw could let attackers take over Kubernetes clusters. Argo CD is widely used to deploy applications to Kubernetes. Researchers disclosed a flaw in its Repo-Server component that allows unauthenticated code execution if an attacker can reach the Repo-Server's internal network port. They assessed that successful exploitation can lead to full cluster takeover. There is currently no fix and no CVE assigned. That means defenders can't rely on an update today and should assume exposure wherever that internal port is reachable. This matters because Argo CD often sits at the heart of deployment pipelines. Compromise there can cascade into supply chain and runtime environments. The defender takeaway: immediately restrict network access to the Repo-Server's internal port, using Kubernetes network policies, service mesh controls, and upstream firewalls. Ensure the Repo-Server is not exposed outside the cluster or VPC, and verify that only necessary components can reach it. Increase monitoring on Argo CD namespaces and service accounts for abnormal pod spawns, unexpected repository interactions, or new binaries appearing in the Repo-Server container. Review RBAC to limit blast radius, backup manifests, and prepare rapid rollback plans. Track the project's advisories and apply a fix as soon as it's released. Next, CISA adds one known exploited vulnerability to catalog. CISA added CVE 2026-45659, a Microsoft SharePoint Server deserialization of untrusted data vulnerability, to the Known Exploited Vulnerabilities catalog based on evidence of active exploitation. CISA notes this vulnerability class is a frequent attack vector and poses significant risk to the federal enterprise, and references the risk-based prioritization requirements under Binding Operational Directive 2604. The key fact is the signal: active exploitation is confirmed, and KEV inclusion elevates remediation urgency. This matters because SharePoint is commonly exposed to the internet for collaboration, making deserialization bugs a high-probability entry point for lateral movement and data exposure. The defender takeaway: prioritize patching affected SharePoint Server instances in line with KEV timelines. If patching is not immediately possible, limit external exposure, require authenticated access through VPN or reverse proxy, and monitor for suspicious activity around SharePoint application pools and web services. Validate that only required endpoints are reachable, review web request logs for anomalous serialized payload patterns, and ensure backups and incident response playbooks account for potential web shell or persistence artifacts that often follow SharePoint exploitation. Third, Ousaban banking Trojan targets Iberian bank users with fake PDF lures. A campaign observed in May 2026 is delivering the Brazilian banking Trojan Ousaban to Windows users who bank in Spain and Portugal. The lure presents as a corrupted PDF, verifies that the user is in Spain or Portugal, and conceals its true payload inside an image file. The objective is credential theft for banking logins. The key operational detail is the region-aware delivery, combined with a stealthy payload technique that can evade simplistic content filters. This matters because it targets a defined geography and bank user base, increasing the chance of successful fraud, and it may impact enterprises when users handle personal banking on corporate endpoints or when finance teams are targeted. The defender takeaway: tighten email and web gateway controls to scrutinize PDFs and image file downloads, especially attachments or links that prompt file repairs or updates. Enforce least privilege on endpoints, and block script execution from user-writable directories. Ensure endpoint protection can detect process chains where document viewers spawn downloaders or credential harvesting modules. For organizations with Iberian footprints, deploy geo-specific detections, remind staff not to open unsolicited financial documents, and reinforce out-of-band verification for any banking prompts. Encourage strong multi-factor authentication with phishing-resistant factors where available. Finally, daily trends: patching. Multiple vendors release security patches or advisories addressing newly disclosed vulnerabilities. The key fact is volume and cadence. New advisories mean shifting risk, even if specific exploits aren't yet public. This matters because missed routine updates often become tomorrow's high-severity incidents, and some of today's advisories may align with rapidly exploited classes of bugs. The defender takeaway: Sweep for applicable updates and advisories across your software inventory this week, with special attention to internet-facing services, identity systems, and device firmware. Tie your patch queue to exploit signals like KEV and your own threat model, and use maintenance windows to accelerate high-impact fixes. Where immediate patching is not feasible, deploy compensating controls such as network segmentation, strict access controls, and increased logging on exposed components. If this briefing helped you prioritize, subscribe for the next update. Share it with your team, and drop a comment with what you're tracking this week. Stay safe, keep patches moving, and I'll see you in the next rundown.